Welcome to the Silhouettes of Success podcast with your host, successful entrepreneur, broker, and business mentor, Amber Weitzer. Because success comes in all shapes, sizes, and styles, the Silhouettes of Success podcast is shining the light on industrious women with a collection of curated conversations of intentional inspiration designed to inspire your heart, ignite your mind, feed your soul, and gift you with actionable insights directly from inspirational, everyday women who've shown tenacity, grit, and grace, having taken on the challenges in their lives and business and won. Remarkable, down-to-earth, and relatable, Amber and her guests will share with you uplifting and extraordinary real-life success stories, motivational ideas that just might help spark something within you. With the deepest desire to serve you, help you grow so you can begin to shine the light that will illuminate your very own silhouette of success. So, let's get to it.
Hello, and welcome to the Amber Weitzer podcast, Silhouettes of Success. Our VIP featured guest is a multi-award-winning entrepreneur, strategy, and innovation expert. Through her business, She's the Boss International. She helps small to mid-sized business enterprises to transform their businesses. She launched her first successful business in 2007, her second business in 2014, and sold both businesses in 2015. In addition to her entrepreneurial endeavors, she is also a university lecturer, a charity trustee, radio presenter, and visiting industrial fellow. She has an MBA and Masters with a proven track record of supporting clients to grow revenues by, listen up, Silhouettes, 6 figures. Silhouettes, let's welcome Daniella Genas to the show. Hello, Daniella. How are you?
Hi, Amber. I'm really good. Thank you. Thanks so much for having me.
Well, it is a genuine pleasure. Fabulous to be with you today as you share your silhouette of success story with us. So thank you once again and welcome.
Thank you.
All right, to kick it off, I always love to give the stage to you and let you share with the audience a little bit about the shaping of your silhouette of success, talking a little bit more about your background. Go ahead.
Thank you. So I was born in Birmingham in the United Kingdom, but raised in Nottingham. You may, for those who are not in the UK, will be able to identify that's where Robin Hood comes from. I was raised in a Caribbean household, so both of my parents are descended from Jamaica, which has had a particularly profound impact on kind of my journey so far. And from a very young age, I kind of always demonstrated having entrepreneurial traits. Whilst I was very shy and quite introverted, I was always trying to find new ways and kind of, I suppose, create a revenue stream for myself. So the kind of background that I grew up in, we weren't very well to do. My parents didn't give us pocket money because they were kind of at many points throughout my childhood kind of struggling financially. And I recognized that if I wanted to generate money, I needed to do it myself. So from quite a young age, I was always on a scheme to try and find a way to get paid for different things, babysitting, washing cars, braiding hair, whatever it was that I knew I could get paid for. In my teenage years, I developed a kind of keen interest in both the media and events. And one of the kind of key memories of mine is organizing my mum's 40th birthday party, a surprise birthday party, realizing actually I quite enjoy this. This is fun. At 16, I was given a job by a friend of mine's father in a mentoring agency. And one of the key tasks and activities was to organize community events. So at 16 years of age, I organized an event in Nottingham where I was living at the time for around 2,000 people and pretty much took care of the whole event, organized the performances, organized the marketing, organized all of the exhibition stands, and really found that it was something that not only did I enjoy doing, but I was really good at doing on a large scale. But deep down, I kind of secretly wanted to be a media personality, number one, but also at some point, I wanted to be a singer, stroke rapper, stroke dancer. I realized quite quickly that you can't do either of those things when you're shy and very introverted, unless you work out how to, and I didn't. So decided to go to university to study media and communications, and came back to Birmingham, which is where I've stayed ever since, and studied media and communications. Whilst on my degree program, I started a society, the African Caribbean Society, and went back to my love of organizing events, and was really quite successful at doing it with the society. And one of the key things that I was particularly good at was securing sponsorship. So, while some of the other societies within the university were kind of relying on ticket sales from their customer base, I was getting sponsorship from brands such as HMV, the local building society, and I don't know if anyone remembers the drink Alizé. So
Yes.
yes, so Alizé, I remember
Whoa.
one of our events was sponsored by Alizé, and they sent us like crates and crates and crates of Alizé.
Oh my
So we would,
gosh.
yeah. So
Yeah.
I realized I was really quite good at it, and continued doing that throughout university. When I finished university, the idea was that if you wanted to get into the media, you would need to move to London. Now,
Mhm.
Nottingham is a very small city. I'd moved to Birmingham, which is a bigger city. It's the second city in the UK. And the concept of moving to the biggest city, the capital, just felt a little bit too much for me. So I decided to stay in Birmingham. And I kind of moved around from job to job for a year. So within that year, I probably had 3 or 4 jobs. I would quit every few months when I realized actually I don't like working here, and I didn't like working anywhere, but basically. So I would just consistently quit. And I started to think about what is it about this kind of whole working thing that I'm not enjoying. And there was a variety of factors. I didn't like being told what to do. I didn't like having to be somewhere at a specific time and not being able to leave. It just felt very restrictive for me. So I heard about a business startup program and applied, quit my final job, and started my first business with a group of friends from university, one of whom was also on the program, two of whom were not. And we launched our first business in 2007. And that first business, well, we started with the four of us. Within a year, it was just me, and we had a variety of falling outs, which led to then me running the business. And it wasn't a business, let me just say that. We called it a business, but in hindsight it was really not at all. We didn't have a clue what we were doing. We just said we were in business, and we're really very confused. And I spent some time, once it was down to me, to really understand what was it that I was trying to do, and then registered officially in 2009 as what we call a community interest company, so a social enterprise, a business that operates for more than profit. And the focus was on providing opportunities for young people from disadvantaged backgrounds, and paying for those kind of development projects and showcasing opportunities by organizing celebration events for corporate clients. So celebration events would include Christmas parties, team away days, networking events, award celebrations, all of those kind of things. And the business grew very quickly. So from 2009 to 2013, I employed around 15 members of staff. We grew to six figures. Again, with the sponsorship, I was pretty fantastic with that. So we continued to get a range of sponsors for the youth and community events that we did. And I was also really good at writing bids. So applying to charitable organizations, to the lottery, charitable kind of funds, and also to the local government. I was able to secure around £250,000 worth of funding. I was able to secure around £250,000 worth of funding to then put on youth development and showcasing projects. Now, the problem with that was the business had grown, but it had grown on the back of both the funding and the sponsorship, not the commercial events and the celebration events that we had initially launched to do. And I realized after a few years of getting my annual returns and seeing my kind of accounts and realizing that the turnover wasn't wasn't being represented, because all of the revenues coming in, or the significant portion and majority of the revenues, were restricted funds from both sponsors and funders, whereas the commercial revenues that were coming in were much, much smaller. So I made the decision to stop applying for funding and focus on building up the commercial side of the business, and then realized I wasn't very good at sales. And therefore, as much as I tried, I wasn't able to kind of redress that balance between the commercial side and the funded side. And by the time it got to 2015, I had gone from having this team of staff to having one member of staff, from turning over six figures to being in minus revenues, and made the decision to close the business. Now, for some strange reason, there was some person that was around and said, actually, I was thinking of starting a social enterprise. Can I just buy yours? So I was able to negotiate a deal with him. And may I just point out, it wasn't the greatest deal. It sounds way more exciting than it actually was, but it came at the right time. So I was pregnant at the time, and I had been going through an investment process to try and see if I could take on new staff through investment to help with the sales and with the business development. And the investors kind of paused the investment and said, come back in 6 months. But I was pregnant, which is what then led to me saying I'm going to have to close the business, because I knew I wasn't going to be able to hit the sales targets that they'd set for me in the time frame that they'd set, because I was pregnant. Also because I was having some family issues. My mother was very, very sick, in a coma actually, back in Nottingham, and I was up and down the motorway kind of going and visiting her. So I knew it wasn't going to work. So made the decision to close it. Obviously, as I said, somebody then made the decision that they wanted to buy it. So it was a very interesting summer. I had my daughter in July, sold the business in August, and then behind the scenes, I'd applied to do my MBA and started my MBA in September. So it was a very interesting 3 months, a lot of change. And on the MBA, I kind of made it my mission to really understand what were the success factors for a growth business. So a business that can grow but can sustain that growth. And started to also look at where I had gone wrong in kind of the business. I knew what I'd done right, but I really wanted to explore exactly what I had done wrong and how I could, I suppose, help other business owners avoid making those same mistakes. And it was while studying my MBA that I then launched my current business, She's the Boss, with the sole aim of helping other small business owners, solopreneurs, coaches, and consultants grow their businesses in a sustainable fashion. And through my research on my MBA, I interviewed a large selection of business owners and kind of really got to understand what some of those key success factors are, and launched, or kind of started to utilize, the VISA framework. So I kind of identified that vision, innovation, strategy, systems and processes, and accountability was a framework that I could use to help my clients grow their businesses without burning themselves out. One of the things I identified for my business was that I had been burnt out for the last kind of 2 to 3 years of running it. I didn't have the right systems in place. Whilst I had kind of a loose vision, I didn't have a clear vision, and that was timed and included kind of the goals and the action plans needed to accomplish it. I didn't have clear strategies in place. I wasn't being innovative. Whilst I was being innovative with the youth stuff, I wasn't in terms of my approach to running the business and also targeting my ideal clients. I didn't actually know who the ideal clients were. So Visa was born out of that. And I've been using the VISA framework for the last few years to work with my clients, and have helped many achieve significant growth, both professionally within their businesses, but also personally within themselves. So, focusing on areas such as confidence building, time management, public speaking, in addition to kind of more of the kind of hard business skills. So, business development, business growth, strategy, etc. And that, in a nutshell, a long nutshell, is how I got to where I am right now.
So fascinating. Oh, there is so much within that. What a journey so far. I always say
Mhm.
part one or part two. And timing. Timing was a lot.
Mhm.
As I say, timing is everything. What a journey. Um, just on the absolute surface core level, if you will, and that's actually a contradiction, but my brain is just processing all of, I was taking notes as you're talking, and the moment in time in this journey for you when you were pregnant, dealing with the sale of a potential sale of the company, and then going back and forth to be with your mom. I mean, what? Wow.
Yeah, it's a very stressful time in my life, but actually, I learned so many lessons from that period. and particularly lessons about myself. Because had somebody said in advance, this is what the situation is going to be like, how would you deal with it? I'd have sat in a corner and
Yeah.
cried.
Yes. No, thank you.
Yeah.
What, what's the next year look like? Can I pick? Oh my goodness.
Yeah. No, for
Wow.
sure.
You've talked about, and I'll go back a couple of points when you've mentioned the entrepreneur spirit within you, and then going into the employee status of different posts and jobs that you took, and you realized that that wasn't for you. So now that you're doing what you're doing and you've identified framework both for success for you and for so many others that you help. Would you say if we were to look at a day in the life of now, you talk about goals and different strategies and more that framework. Would you say you're structured? That alarm clock goes off, a day in the life. Are you structured with a routine? Are you more spontaneous with that innovator vibe still? What does a day in the life look like for you?
So I'm very structured because I'm very disorganized, which for somebody that talks about systems and processes all the
Uh-huh.
time, people always find it's funny. But I think
Yeah.
one of the reasons I've become so focused on systems and processes is because of the fact that I am so disorganized. So I need order in order to help me kind of stay on track and kind of keep focused on what I need to do. So one of the key things that I do on a day-to-day basis is, well, usually the night before, I will sit and I'll determine what I'm going to work on the following day. And then I'll time block. And I time
Mm.
block everything. So I will say, right, from this time to this time, I'm dropping my daughter at school. From this time to this time, I'm going to eat breakfast. If I eat breakfast, which I don't always do, if I'm honest. From this time to this time, I'm going to do X. And I will do that. And what I've actually started to do, I have an Alexa device and I've started to set the reminders in Alexa to say when I need to move on to the next task, which is amazing, actually. I wish I'd discovered this sooner. What I used to do is just write it down and then check the time and then move on to the next thing. But now Alexa will say, reminder, start doing X. And then I'm like, right, great, move on to the next thing. So I'm really rigid and structured with that. But each day, really, I usually have a client session every day except for Wednesdays. Wednesday is kind of my business strategy day where I work on kind of in the business, well, work on the business, sorry, not in it. But yeah, Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, I'll usually start the day with a client session. Then I'll spend a little bit of time kind of working through client work. So typing up or kind of editing session records, doing research, that kind of thing. On a Monday, I'll have a meeting with both my assistant and then either my sales coordinator or my marketing team, and kind of look at, particularly on a Monday, we kind of look at what we need to be doing over the next week. And then anywhere in between that, I'll be doing a bit of marketing, recording videos. So prior to this, us doing this podcast, I was recording videos to send over to the marketing team to upload onto my social media and to schedule for this week and next week. I write a lot of blogs. I like to write. So it's all really quite varied. I try every day to either listen to a podcast or to read a part of a book. That's something that I spend quite a bit of time doing every day. I also will exercise occasionally. I try to exercise 2 to 3 times a week. I think that's really important in terms of kind of keeping healthy, keeping my energy levels up. And I also like to cook. So I will spend time cooking usually every other day. Me and my husband take it in turns. And then as soon as it hits kind of 5 o'clock, my daughter will come in from school and then I'm in mummy mode, do homework with her. And at that time, we kind of will spend our time together until she goes to bed at 7. And depending on how busy of a week it's been, or if I've got any kind of pending deadlines, I will then start working again at 7 once she goes to bed for a few hours, or just sit on the sofa and watch Netflix. So
There
that's
you
literally
go.
kind of what my life looks like most of the time. In addition to attending events, I also, particularly at the moment, I'm attending a lot of awards ceremonies. So that makes for an interesting evening.
Gotta throw that into the mix. So tell us that the audience likes to, when we see all of these successful women in front of us doing these great things, do you ever get stuck or have a perceived barrier between you and a goal and dream? And if you do you have a best practice that works for you to get out of that unstuck position?
Yes, so I have something that I've been saying for quite years. Sometimes I play hide and seek with my mojo. And
Oh.
what I mean by that is sometimes I am super productive and everything that I need to do, I get done. Words flow when I'm typing, my words flow when I'm speaking. But then sometimes, no matter kind of how much time and effort I put into something, I just feel slow and I feel like I'm not being my normal productive self. And that's when I say my mojo's gone for a walk and I need her back. She needs to come back. And what I really try to do and be very intentional with this is to not force it. So I'll take a break away from whatever that task is that I'm working on to help me kind of move towards the goal. I will step away from it because actually there's no point if you're sitting trying to do something for 6 hours and you're getting 10 minutes worth of work done. I may as well go and spend that 6 hours doing something else. So I will try to kind of step away from work. When it was summer, I would go outside and take a walk, but it's cold now, so I won't be doing that. And one of the kind of most powerful things for me is really um, focusing on my vision. So one of the key things that I do in my business is something called Vision 20, which is where I work with my clients to really map out a detailed vision of what they want their business and their future life to look like. And I do the same thing for myself. So with when I feel that I'm kind of stuck in an area, one of the first things that I do after taking the break and kind of going to clear my mind is I'll go back to that vision and I'll read it. Sometimes I'll listen to it because I've recorded myself kind of speaking what the vision is, and really just try and focus on the feeling of what I'm going to feel when I achieve that vision in its entirety. And so what that often does is it just helps calm me down and refocus my mind to then take what I say is a solutions based approach. Often when we get into those modes where we're stuck and we can't kind of see a way out, we take a problems based approach. This is the problem. I can't solve the problem. When actually what I advocate for is taking a solutions based approach. Okay, how do I solve this? And actually if I can't solve it, who do I need to help me solve it? And sometimes it's as simple as me going and speaking to a friend or to my husband or to a family member and kind of going over what the problem is and having that outside perspective can really help. I also have mentors and people that I work with that I can go to who can help. But sometimes it's just not within my sphere of excellence. And therefore, maybe I need to hire somebody to support me. And that's something that I've done on a number of occasions because actually I probably could spend the time trying to work this out for myself, but is it a productive use of my time? And is it something that really is that I'm the best person to try and solve and to try and help me overcome this? And if not, then maybe I need to find the people that can. And that's worked for me quite consistently over the last few years. And I learned that specifically because in my first business, I didn't really do that. I would just sit and moan, and this is the problem. And oh my gosh, woe is me. I can't do this. Why is this not happening? It's taking too long. I can't work it out, blah, blah, blah. And actually, if I had just taken a solutions based approach and kind of gone and found the right people to support me, then I potentially would have not ended up in the situation that I ended up in. So I'm really intentional now to take a wholly different approach.
That's so wise of you that you were able to see that and then learn from that for yourself. Sometimes we run into the wall over and over before,
Hmm.
almost
Hmm.
with a bucket on our head before we really get it. And that was it, you just answered one of the next questions, which is phenomenal. Is as the independent business owner and speaker and all those things that you do, and thinking big and taking action for everybody else to help us. Where would you find support? And you touched on that with the mentors and hiring out. So that's fantastic.
Yeah, well, my support system really is quite wide and varied.
Mhm.
And actually, I would even say some of my clients are my support because even though I'm supporting them, they often support me and say, well, actually, we know that you're great at this. Have you considered that? Have you considered this? And I find that really useful. My husband is a really great support. He is kind of my biggest cheerleader. And when I feel like, oh my gosh, this just feels very heavy, like there was a period of time a few months ago, and I said, you know what? Is it too late to say that I want to be a stay-at-home wife? Can we do this? And he was like, no, that ship sailed a long time ago. You're amazing. Get up and go do what needs to be done. I was like, I'm just checking.
Just checking in, just checking in. Oh, I love that. And that free flow, the trust in both sides for you and your clients. to have that mutual respect, if you will, also
Hmm.
that we do learn. Um, you put the teacher hat on, but sometimes I feel I learn and gain way more in a guilty, selfish way sometimes from somebody else.
Yeah. And
It's
actually, the
great.
process of me speaking to my clients
Yeah.
and encouraging them and coming up with ideas for them, it works for myself. I'm like, well, Daniela, why haven't you done that? You're telling them to do it. Why haven't you done it? Why are you doing this? So I find that really kind of very useful and very motivational and necessary. I think if we think
Yes.
that we know everything, then how much further can you get? Because obviously you know everything, you're a genius. I don't for any second believe that I know everything. And just because my clients are coming to me to help them doesn't mean that they can't add value to me also.
Wow. So insightful. So taking it to somewhat of a different twist in this conversation, and this could be considered a two-part question. Are you able to think back, could be more current, could be deep, 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 in the Silhouette of Success journey for you? Was there ever a specific point in time? Was there an event or key situation in your professional life that forced you to make a monumental shift in your business or career? And with that result, positive or painful, how did going through that situation help you grow?
It's a great question. And I have a number of instances along my kind of journey in my career where that is applicable and where that has occurred. So I would say first and foremostly, in my teenage years, which was I suppose pre-career, but it's had such a monumental impact on my career throughout. I was very shy and painfully shy, in fact. And whilst working with a friend of mine's dad, I think he recognized the potential in me that I didn't necessarily see in myself. And what he would do, he would take me to events around the region where we lived, and he would say that a representative from the organization would be coming to speak about what the organization does, and he would tell them my name, but he wouldn't tell me. So I'd be sat in the audience and they'd say, oh, Daniella Genas from Build Mentor Group is coming to speak about the work that they're doing with young people. And I'd be sat there like, oh my gosh. And I remember the first time he did it, and imagine me, I'm like 16, 17, terribly shy. And I'd be in a room of like 200 people and they'd call my name. But what kind of the feeling that I had that was greater than my shyness was I hated being embarrassed. So the kind of my need to not be embarrassed kind of overrode my fear of getting up and speaking in front of people. So I remember the first time I got up and I managed to kind of stumble some words together. The second time I did a little bit better. Before we got to the third time, I said, right, I need to work this out. I know he's going to do it. So let me prepare some points in my head and practice these points. So by the time I was called the third time, I was so much better at it and got a really good reception. And learning that kind of public speaking skill has served me so well because now I am a speaker. I do speaking engagements all the time. I recently did my first TEDx talk. And without that happening to me, and without me kind of getting to grips with the idea of this is going to keep happening to you, you're going to need to be able to work this out. And it was kind of coming to that point of saying, yeah, like we can do this. You just need to work out how. And the how for me was making sure that I knew exactly what I was going to say. And throughout my years, I've improved, and it's an approach that I've taken with many things. If this is an area that I find uncomfortable, or if I don't like doing, I always say I immerse myself in it. So I take an immersion approach. So, for example, one of the other things I used to hate doing, I'd hate doing lives on Instagram or on LinkedIn or anything, to be honest. So, what I forced myself to do is, again, immerse myself in it. So, in 2020, I did a live or a live story on Instagram every day for a whole month. And by the end of that month, I knew I could do it. And now I've continued it. And every Tuesday and Thursday morning on my Instagram page, I do something called Lesson of the Day, where I share lessons that I've learned in my business. And again, it's because I've taken that same kind of technique that I developed when I was 16, 17 of if you're being forced into the situation, you have to work it out. It's a sink or swim. I don't want to sink, so I'm going to have to swim. And that's something that has really been beneficial along my, not only just in my kind of business career, just in my life generally. I'd say that's probably the most kind of pivotal moment when I look back, and it's something that has occurred on multiple occasions.
Oh, wow. In thinking too on, you've got such amazing accomplishments and successes, professional, personal, and I always say you're just getting started. I know. But when do you feel the greatest sense of satisfaction?
Well, I think there's two times really. One is when I've done a speaking engagement and people come up to me afterwards and they tell me that a specific phrase that I've said or a particular lesson that I've shared has impacted them in a particular way. I feel really like, okay, wow, I'm making an impact on people's lives. I love that feeling. But then similarly, when I'm in a client session, or I finished a client session and the client says a similar thing like, oh my gosh, because of what you've said, or because of you encouraging me in this way, or because of this advice that you gave me, I now feel better about myself in this way, or I now feel like I can go and do this, or I now feel that I'm equipped to achieve this. And actually seeing them go and do those things, yeah, that I can't really describe how amazing that feels. And particularly, I share a lot about my clients that generate lots of revenues for their business and grow their businesses, but actually, they're not the ones that make me feel like I've achieved the most. It's the ones that come to me and say, I'm scared to speak in public. I don't think I'm good enough. I don't think I can do this. And then they come back and then they say, I've done this talk on this event or at this on this show or whatever it may be. I feel confident. I know I can do it. I believe in myself. And that's because of the support that you've provided me. Then I feel like, okay, this is accomplishment. The money, like I'm not rich yet, but I'm working on it. The money is one thing, and getting paid is great. And particularly when I've managed to kind of get some of my biggest clients, it's a great feeling. But nothing is as great as that feeling of someone saying, I started here and now I'm here, and that's because of you. It's a beautiful feeling. And that's really where I get my biggest sense of accomplishment from.
So fulfilling. Oh, goosebumps. We all crave great resources that might either help inspire, uplift, expand our minds. Do you have any that you'd like to share with the audience, whether it's a book or a genre, mentor, anything that you'd like to pass on to the audience?
Yes, many. So I said before that I love to read, and there's a few books that have made a huge impact on me and how I build my business and how I encourage my clients to build their businesses. The first is The E-Myth Revisited by Michael E. Gerber. I say that every business owner, who particularly those that are running service businesses, should read that book. It is life-changing. Also, another book, MJ DeMarco, The Fast Lane Millionaire, again had a huge and very profound impact on me. And then a friend of mine has recently written a book called The 10-Year Career, and her name is Jodie Cook. And again, a fantastic book that I think everyone who doesn't want to be working for the rest of their lives should get. It's really about having your 10-year career plan and reimagining business, designing your life around kind of what you want to achieve in the end, as opposed to letting your business run your life. So they're the three books that I would recommend.
Amazing. Thank you. One of those I have, the other two are new to me. So, again, I'm excited on that. And I'll make sure that those get in the resource section so our audience can find those, especially, you've got a friend. So, that's always good. We want to make sure and plug that one too. Danielle, it has been fascinating. It has been, you have brightened up my day. Just connecting with you and hearing your silhouette of success story. And it has just been wonderful visiting with you. As we begin to wrap up today, is there a piece of key go to advice and the promise of sharing intentional inspiration with our audience that you would like to pass on?
Think big, take action, keep pushing. The bigger that you think, the further you'll be able to go. We often limit ourselves by having very small dreams. And actually, if you have big dreams and big goals, it's much more likely that you're going to get much further along. I always say, if you aim for the moon, you'll reach the stars. If you aim for the roof of your house, you might reach the front door. Where are we trying to get to? Take action. There's no point thinking big if you don't take any action. What's the point? You're not going to get anywhere. All of your goals and visions, etc., will just remain dreams, and we don't want that. So you need to be committed to taking consistent action, and taking consistent action means also asking for help where you need it, and then keep pushing. Invariably on your journey of life, whether that be in business or in a career, you are going to face obstacles. I faced a plethora of very substantial and significant obstacles, but actually the kind of true journey includes overcoming those obstacles and continue to push despite them. And again, getting the support to help you keep pushing if you can't do it on your own. And that's kind of my mantra. Think big, take action, keep pushing. It's something that I live by. It's something that I encourage my clients to live by, and it's really what's helped me bounce back after the multitude of kind of setbacks that I've had. It's what's enabled me to strive for success despite what I would say are my humble kind of beginnings.
Greatness. It's amazing. It's great. Thank you for all of that. Thank you, thank you, thank you. All right, milady, the stage is completely yours. Where can our audience go to either find and connect with you or support you in your continued success? If you'd like to share your socials or contact information, go right ahead.
Yes. So you can find me most of the time on Instagram. I love Instagram. And that's at She's the Boss UK. You can also find me on LinkedIn, Daniella Genas, and that's Genas. You can find me on YouTube, Daniella Genas, She's the Boss. And I would encourage everybody to check out my TEDx talk, which is called Beyond the Vision Board. So if you search Daniella Genas Beyond the Vision Board TEDx, you should be able to find that. And you can check out my services and read my blogs on my website, which is www.she'sthebossintl.com.
Fabulous. And I will again make sure that those links are definitely the TEDx talk too. Flawless. All right, milady. We'll make sure all those goodnesses are in the resource section for our audience to find and connect and support you in your continued success. Daniella, it has been a sincere pleasure and delight. Thank you for sharing some time and your silhouette of success with us. You are a true light and inspiration.
Thank you for joining us on this episode of the Silhouettes of Success podcast. If you enjoyed the show, make sure you subscribe so you don't miss out on all the new episodes. We are here for you and with you. We encourage you to share this podcast on all your socials and pass on the light to help illuminate another silhouette of success. To find out the latest ways to inspire your heart, ignite your mind, and gain actionable insights, subscribe at thesilhouettesofsuccess.com or connect with us on Facebook, LinkedIn, and Instagram. We're grateful that you tuned in. Remember, you are exactly where you need to be, right here with us. This is the Amber Weitzer podcast, Silhouettes of Success.